All right, let's get going here. Check, check, check. Hopefully there's no feedback. Check. There is feedback. Not sure why. I could come in and read comments for a while if you like. Yeah, that's fine. You are free to do so. Hello, everyone. Mine arrives tomorrow with the station, but I'm on the boat. Okay. Well, what am I going to break now? Well, this is Phrozen product, so chances of me breaking something is very slim. Let's see. Is there somebody else that wants to come in here? No. Okay. No, we're all good. Okay. So we'll give it a couple minutes here. Let me pull up my Facebook page here, just so I have all these comments ready to rock and roll. And we'll get everything situated. Won't get a chance to play with it till the 14th. Oh no. That's unfortunate. Okay. Let's pause. Check, check, check. Okay, good. No feedback. I was a little concerned about that. Oh, that's loud. Okay. Loud and clear. Good. What's up, Endu? How's it going, bud? Yeah, good. What is this? You know, not sure. We'll let you guys in here. I'm gonna put you guys in my ear. Make sure I turn this off. Okay. Check, check. I can hear you guys. You can hear me? Okay, cool. I can hear you. All right. So let's pull up some specs on this, make sure we get it all right. And get everything situated. Yeah. Okay, accessory. Accessory. We have the Mega here. All right, so we are all set. Wow, this is kind of an expensive package. Yes, so the printer box is a little bit banged up, I will say that. So, all right, we'll give, yeah, we're 5 minutes in. We'll start this. All right. Can't start without having, you know, a traditional Coke. Yep. Good evening. All right. So, welcome. Our friends over at Phrozen, who may or may not be joining in this. I don't know, because they're probably prepping for Formnext 2023. And if you guys didn't know, they are announcing a FDM printer as well. It's their first FDM printer, and looks like it has an AMS system on it. So we'll have to see how that one goes, but yeah, very interesting. But other than that, they decided to send us the new Mega X series of products. They sent us the Mega 8K-S, the Mega Cure S, and the Mega Wash S, which is quite ridiculous. And then obviously, I believe this is a couple bottles of resin, most likely, to get us going. So anyway, let's save the best for last. How about we do the printer last, huh? All right. Let's get to this one later. We'll bring this off the table. We'll do the simpler ones because those are a little bit easier to manage. Slight bit of feedback. So there is feedback. Okay. Hopefully it's okay. I'm not trying not to talk too loud. So in here we have their TR300 resin, 2 bottles. It looks like. I'm just going to throw it in the front. So we have 2 bottles of frozen resin. And this is the Mega Cure. Now, this is my first standalone setup for Phrozen and for really any wash and cure stuff since I basically started. I've had a wash and cure combo for quite some time. What's up, Steven? How's it going, bud? All right. Hopefully you guys can see okay. Yeah, you guys can see in that window, that window. Should I do a dual on this one instead of like a small and small? Maybe something like that. Yeah, I think that'll be all right. All right. So we have a nice little thank you card. This is very fancy, by the way, if you guys haven't seen it. It says Phrozen, thank you for your order. No, technically we didn't really order. Want to save 15% off? Join our newsletter now. Better than you envisioned. And this is our after sales service and warranty card. And yes, these are all serial coded, which is not something you see every day. We have a US spec power supply and a European power supply. Nothing in there. Looks like we have the acrylic base that everybody uses. This is really, really big. This is huge compared to the one that I'm used to using. That's what she said. All right, get that all set up here. And looks like we're going to have to take this out differently. So let's put this down here so we can put this up on the table. That's a big boy. I think this wash station or this cure station is as big as my Flash Forge Adventure M5 Pro. We have a baking sheet, baking mat, whatever you want. All right. I don't think there's any specific way we take this off, so that's it. Cut away. Always knife safety, cut away from yourself to avoid injuring any part of you or your body or anything around. This thing is huge. So just to give you a perspective, on size of this, this is about the same size as my Bamboo X1 Carbon. quite ridiculous. It's huge. All right, so we got it nicely tightly wrapped here. Let's get you guys in front here. Let's check some comments here. Came to see the unboxing. Oh yeah. So it's like it opens from this side. Yeah, that's deep. That's a big boy. Yeah, pretty much. Some ASMR stuff for you guys. Might not have been as good as I thought it would be, but all right. So we're gonna check this out really quick. We're just gonna test everything out before we move on to everything. So plug it in, power it on. Switch up a chair here if I can. All right, so it looks like we do have some LED lights. These are natural white light that's inside of here. So on here we have a fan plus cure, a UV cure, and a fan. So we actually have a couple different options to, looks like it's not just a cure, it is a dry and cure. So let's see if we can do fan and cure. Sure, we'll do 30 minutes just to be on the safe side. And obviously it's not going to work without that. Okay, so it looks like it's good. We're going to stop this. I'm sure you want to stop the curing process. Yes, so that's just the fan that we did. And it does turn off. It does have, I believe these are 50mm fans, so these are quite huge, these fans. So one is probably an intake and an outtake. Actually, it looks like they're both intake. So maybe outtake. All right, so we're going to stop this. Yes, we're going to check out the cure. Okay, cure is good. There is a nice magnetized system. Like this has got a seal on it actually, so that's actually really nice. That's not something I've seen in quite some time. And this magnet is very strong, so it's almost like as if you're opening and closing a fridge. That's how strong it is. But obviously everything does work, so we're going to move on and check out the wash. So everything's good. On the back here, we do have some venting to show you off before we move along here. So there's some nice venting out here. It gets rid of all of the smell that you can. And then obviously we can put this in here somehow, some way. There we go. We'll put that in there. Yeah, there you go. All right, so that, what was that? Beer. I'm not a beer drinker, but yeah, I'm not a beer drinker, but probably could. Can cure that. All right, so there's our cure station right there. It's a big beefy boy, and as you can tell, this is the wash, and this thing is ginormous by itself too. Insane. Check comments here on this. What's up, Aaron? How's it going? What's the price point on this? So they vary. The printer is going to range at about $1,600 without shipping. The wash station is going to be $320, I think it was, and then the cure is about $400 and something. So, yeah, I think it's a 12-inch cookie sheet. You may be right. Wow, the basement looks great. Yeah, I've kind of changed some things around. And actually, I redid the entire backdrop here. So everything that's behind you guys now is completely different now. So we still got some more stuff to add there. So anyway, let's move on because with this new wash and cure system, we need to make some more room. So. Now this is what I'm excited about most. The Cure Station is really nice. And again, we do have a nice little thank you for purchasing card with a 15% off possibility code. User manual, 3D printing guide, and then the stuff for all their social medias. All right. And again, this is serial coded. So that's very, very nice to see that. Again, not something you see with anybody nowadays. Oh, we lost Bendu. All right, so in here we have a little small power supply. Looks like this is a 24 volt at 2 amps, so doesn't really take too much power wise. Let's pack this on up. Get this up out of the way here. We'll use that. Okay. You're here? Okay. All right. Well, you did say you were only going to be here for a little bit. Looks like we have an inlet pipe. I believe this is to drain the wash station or fill it if you want to go that route, but obviously it's probably more for draining. What is that? Is this a pre-wash tub? No. Nuh-uh. Did they actually think outside the box, unlike everybody else? No way. Or is that the top to it? That might be the top. All right, there you go. And there's the chunky boy. Now, just to give you a little bit of a reference, I think I got an extra. Hold on. What were we using before? So, just to give you a little bit of reference, this is the wash we've been using. So that's quite a different size. So in reality, you know, it's a little bit taller than it. However, it is much longer than it. It's almost two of these together for what it looks like. So this is the Wash and Cure Plus that I've been using, the trusty one that I've had since they pretty much announced it, and it's worked very well. But obviously, you know, it's not always going to be the greatest thing to use. Does resin printing, right? Since when? Ask questions. You can ask any questions you want. I think I'll DIY my Cure Station. Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. Well, the SBC I'm reviewing, I need something for cases. I don't have people to ask anymore. Well, if you need me to make cases, I can probably do that. So, but anyway, let's get to the goodies on the inside here. Ooh, that is fucking mint. All right. So all the electronics are inside here. It's not a detachable piece, which I'm kind of so-so about. It's not the end of the world because it does look like it's all encased in this this acrylic, I guess you could call it. So it is very well protected from what it seems, but obviously this is a point that I'm worried about, and so is this. I really wish that this was actually disconnected from it. We do have dual propellers in here, unlike previous wash stations that I've used where there's just a singular, and they just kind of play around with the disc to make it wash a little bit better. And this thing holds 24 liters of wash for the max. That's a lot of money. I don't know if you guys know offhand how much isopropyl alcohol or denatured alcohol is what I use. I think it's a gallon if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Yeah, so this is 1 gallon. Okay, this is what I use. That is about $15 to $18 depending on where you buy it from. So just think, 24 of those, and thank you for the gifts. 24 of those are needed to fill this if you're going to utilize the entire build volume of this wash station. So 24 divided by, or times 20, you do the math because I can't do it quickly, but that's a lot of money. So we're definitely going to have to buy like a drum for, you know, this stuff. Hey, let's get into this and see what all this goodies is inside here. Like I said, I think they have a pre-wash set up, but I could be wrong. It might actually just be the top. If that's the top, it's a little concerning to me, to be honest, because it's not a lock lid top. And you guys may or may not have seen the lovely video of me dropping a bucket of denatured alcohol and it splashing in my face. I definitely don't want that happening again, and a locking lid is definitely needed, whereas this, I don't believe, is a locking lid. I could be wrong. That's kind of a janky locking lid, but it is a locking lid nonetheless. So first and foremost, that's my number one downfall of this right now. Is it's not the greatest of a locking lid. Like, this is very flimsy plastic. So I'm a little concerned with that right away. All right. In here we have our ginormous wash basket. So here's a comparison for you. What I use for a wash basket currently, what this wash basket is. I can basically fit 2 of these inside of here with no problem, I would guess. Almost as wide. Two of them by almost as wide. So it's double the size of my wash station that I currently use. That's quite redonkulous. That's awesome, but again, the thing that concerns me is the blocking this lid. Now this, I'm guessing, is the build plates holder. If I can learn how to open a package, that would be great. But it looks like they sealed this on both ends. Okay. I'm not missing it. There's no flap or anything. So. Now, me personally, I don't ever use these. I know some people live by the dip method, but I'm not a big fan of the dip method. I usually remove my stuff and get it all fixed. Now, why they're including so many is beyond me. Maybe this is for each and every different build plate. So we'll have to take a look at the instructions when we're done with this and see what this is for, because this might actually be for different size build plates. So this might be for the Mega and larger or smaller. Who knows? Maybe this will work for the M3 Max. I don't know. But we can't really plug that one in because I don't have the power supply rigged up. But basically, this is a funnel system right here, so you can drain it all out and get it all situated. It's kind of an okay system for the drainage. Like the tubing and everything is nice, but inside where they have it all set up, they probably could have made it like more of a funnel, because right now all it is just a square block like this, and the round piece is right in the center of it. So it's like all this stuff on the bottom is going to collect, and it's going to be a royal pain to get all that stuff out of there once it collects. So yeah, that's a lot of IPA, man. Finally, a wash station big enough. Yeah, but it comes with a hefty price, about $150. Okay, buying a 4-pack, 1-gallon IPA from Amazon at $99 per 4-pack. I need a hookup for a 55-gallon drum. Yeah, I think we're going to have to contact our people over at Uline to try and get this all situated, because that's a lot of IPA or denatured alcohol. So again, it's just a turnkey system, open and close. Very nice system. Again, but on the inside, it's just it's just okay in my opinion. And then, like I said, the only biggest gripe that I have about this so far is this flimsy ass lid. This is a no-no. Please, Phrozen, if you guys are watching, develop a locking style lid if you can, or something that has a better seal, because this doesn't even have a seal on it. So I'm concerned about fumes, because out of anything, if you guys may have seen me play around with a quality air control monitor, they work very, very well in here. When I'm printing, almost none of the resin printers set that thing off. But as soon as I open my denatured alcohol, that thing is skyrocketing through the roof. So out of anything, the denatured alcohol is worse, like 100 times worse than any of the resins that I print. Well, most of the resins I print. I shouldn't say all of the resins, but because there are some that are very, very volatile. Those are usually like the flexible ones, special flexible. So, but anyway, moving along here, let's get the star of the show, the Phrozen Sonic Mega 8KS situated. Let's see who wants to come in here. Let's see. There you are. Yeah, most people get confused IPA with beer. Yeah. Yep. Isopropyl alcohol. Let's see. Will the lid go upside down? Let's see. Maybe. So you have to pull out the basket if that is the case. But yes, it does work as an insert. So technically, like I said, I guess it kind of acts as a 2-in-1. So for me, I like having something like this as a pre-wash. So it is nice to have this as a pre-wash, but to have it as something that needs to be sealed, it's not going to be very good. So again, I'm just kind of iffy about it. But either way, we'll test it out and see how it goes. And my main concern is fumigation from that, like how much fumes are going to leak from it, because there's no seal around it. It's just like, it's 3 tabs on the side, 4 tabs on each corner, well, a single tab on each corner, and then 2 tabs on front and back. So it does have a lot of tabs, but the thing is, it's just tabs. So it's just stuff is going to escape. All right, let's, yeah, it does seal a little bit better. So. I do not have a gas mask. Sorry, I don't usually carry one because I have an air filtration system that usually takes care of everything when I'm down here. So, and if I utilize IPA, I have it in a specific area that has a small air filtration system right next to it. Yeah, I don't have like a gas mask or a breathing mask, anything like that. I just have goggles from after the accident of the denatured alcohol on my face. It'd be nice if I cut down the center here. All right. Trying to make this quick unboxing. So this I'm a little concerned about, because I don't know if you guys saw, there is some damage to this box. And I'm worried that there's some damage to the printer, and I really hope that's not the case, but we'll find out here in a quick second. All right. That is a hefty boy. Whew. Looks good so far. We do have a power supply that just randomly is sitting in the box. I'm sure it was better packaged, but hey. All right, this cake is no bueno. IPA doesn't equal beer. Well, to some people it does. Because I think of like IPA, stout IPA type stuff. Right? Exactly. And that's my main concern because 24 liters of isopropyl alcohol or denatured alcohol leaking, that's a big red flag for me, buddy. Very, very concerned about it. We'll see. We'll test it out. You guys will definitely have your thoughts because out of anything, that's the one that worries me. Not red. It's the isopropyl alcohol that worries me. If it's an incubator, well, I mean, technically you could use a cure station as an incubator. Yeah, you absolutely can. It's just a very expensive incubator. It's what is, I think $489 is the price of that. Let's see here. So for the wash, it is $314.99, so $315 without taxes and shipping. And then for the cure, it is $490. So it is kind of expensive. So. Oh, the beast. Well, it may be the beast for most people, but this is actually kind of a smaller unit nowadays from what I've been getting recently. But still, nice to see Phrozen have a new version of their big bad boy, which, you know, is just on a shot here, the Phrozen Sonic Mega, the original bad boy, which has been a fantastic run since I got it. And mine's even the pre-production model, so like I don't have all the fancy power supply that everybody has. Like mine's just a janky power supply from the original design. Still works. Not complaining. So yeah. Right? We'll see how that is. That's very interesting to see that though. I was definitely very shocked to see the AMS system on there. I was not privy to that information. However many months ago we were discussing this machine and the other machines that are going to be coming out. Went a little bit better than I thought it would. And there she is in all of her glory. Let's take a look and see if there's any damage to it. I think we're all good. I don't see any visible damage right now, but let's get this wrap off of here. And the weird thing is Phrozen is a Taiwanese company. They don't mess with Chinese companies at all. They do the complete opposite. And in fact, Phrozen is very anti-Chinese corporation and company-wise. That's why their products are a little bit more expensive because everything is made in Taiwan. So it has wheels. No, it doesn't. Right? Like cactus thing, way too good. Yes, but I can't say. No, I'm not under NDA or anything. It's just I'm not allowed to say. And I'm actually, even if I were to tell you, I'm not 100% sure that that's still the same date because last I heard, production got set back on all of their printers. So I'm not 100% sure that's even still the case. All right. So it looks like we are all good on the case. There's no damage that I can see on the exterior acrylic. All right. I might have to jump in front of the screen here. Nothing on that side. Okay. So this all just come out as one. Okay. So I will tell you that this is different than the Mega 8K, 100%. So this bar, it looks just like the Megas, but it's much smaller. Much, much smaller. Like the Mega is beefy, from what I can tell. Let's see. Let's just do a quick measurement on this. I'm quite curious to see what it actually is as I drop everything. So this is about 3.5 inches. Unless I'm seeing things. No, this is actually longer. So the Mega is 3.5 inches. This is about 4.25. But thickness wise is what difference. So this is an inch thick. I don't know. Okay. Maybe it's just, I don't know. Something makes it look weird. Doesn't look as beefy. Maybe just because, maybe just because it's smaller. I don't know. I tried the build plate, but there was something printed on the Mega, so I can't swap them. But I can take a look. So here's the build plate. This is way different. This build plate. So this is like, what do they call that? Like, it's like machined aluminum, but it's got a matte finish on it. Whereas the other one has more like a metal, a standard metal finish. So let's see if we can put this on here. Here, we can set that to the side. It's all right. I don't have to worry about contamination. So let's see here. So yeah, it fits on the Mega. All right, so it's pretty much the same type of plate, but I'm gonna show you guys the differences between them. So this one's more like a glossy metal, and that's a flat metal. Glossy, matte. So what do you mean more electronics? Also, the difference on the build plate is different as well. So the handles are much smaller on the Mega 8KS, whereas the Mega 8K has these ginormous handles on there. So they're much, much smaller, which not the end of the world, but that's fine. And the base is much wider on this one. So it has a much wider opening on it. That's why it looks so weird. But what's cool about this one is they have an integrated hook on this. So I can take this off, put it up there, and boom. Drip plate, automated drip plate. I can get this off now. All right. So there's that. Here's our trusty bat. Now the difference between this one and the Mega is this actually has ACF installed in it. So we'll have to see how this produces prints, because the major thing that a lot of people are worried about is ACF film causes weird, like fuzzy skin effect, and it tends to lose a little bit of detail, but you get speed out of it. So you take one for the other. There is no plastic wrapping on any of the FEP like the Mega had originally, like a protective film over it. There is no maximum fill line that I can see on this that's etched in here, so that's a little bit concerning. Yes. Yeah, so this has all new electronics to make it much faster. So this is about, so my Mega with my speed profile can do a full build volume in about 24 hours. Now, the difference between this is this has 100 millimeters less Z axis. So the Mega is 400, this is 300. So in terms of build volume, 24 hours divided by 100, I don't know, whatever it is, it's what, like 8 hours, 8, 16, somewhere around there. No, that would be 6, 12, 18, 24. So it would be 6 hours per 100 millimeters. This can probably do it in 2 hours per 100 millimeters, if that. Maybe faster than that. So it is much faster than the Mega that I currently have. Now this does have little steps in here, so they have improved that. They took like what the Mini and the Mighty have, where there's little tiny dimples in here to set the build plate a little bit easier. The Mega does not have that. No, it does not. This is MSLA. This is your standard. Gotcha. Okay, that's what you meant for laser. Gotcha. No, this is just a LCD screen setup. So. Man, this box is jam-packed in here, man. I'm strong, like who? No. So again, that's so the difference between SLA and MSLA. The two major differences that I see is MSLA, you're going to have more failures. SLA, you're going to have less failures. But the downfall is SLA is much slower. It acts like an FDM printer where it draws on each and every print, whereas MSLA, it literally prints layer by layer by layer by layer by layer. So it's much quicker, probably 4 or 5 times quicker, even on a slow printer. So that's really where you have to have the downfall of it. So, oh, looks like we got a UK plug included. So, hope. Oh no, they didn't include a US one. It was at the bottom there. Let's see. We have some adjustments. What is this? Air filters? Does this have active air filtering? The trusty Phrozen spatula. These are really nice. They're a little bit thicker than I'd like, but they work very well. Now I gotta see if this has active filtering on it or something. Why that's there. Now one downfall I'm kind of not digging too much is they don't include any instructions anymore. Everything's all digital. I get it. It saves on like the whole planet thing, you know, but kind of a pain. All right. So we got the screws all set up. It's just very odd. What the hell is this? Oh, oh, that's nifty. So these are grates for the fans in the back, and I can't tell you how terrible my Mega has looked. But they're magnetized. They're just like little cheap removable ones that you can just take off and wash super easily. And they just magnetize right in that area. Super simple, but they look like they're attached to it. That's kind of nifty. One cool thing I did notice is they do have a ventilation piece here, kind of like the Elegoo Saturns have on their hoods. So you can unbolt this and have a direct filtration system hooked into this. Or you can design a heater system and have a heater system bolted directly to that. So that's really cool. Also, it looks like they have an extra plug in the side here, so you can add electronics, a heater, for example, wiring for it, which is really, really nice. I think that because I had to drill into my Mega 8K to get a heater system running in there, because you definitely need it with a printer that big. And the hood is soft closing, and it stays very, very well. So what is its tip point? Like 15%? No, it's like 10%. Yeah, it's about 10%, maybe less, maybe 5%, but that's nice. I do like that it's a flip up hood, not a pop off hood or take off hood. That's something that a lot of people need to get away from because it's just there's no use for it anymore. All right. I do see there is a little dent in the back here. It's nothing really to worry about, so I'm not really concerned about it being an issue. It's just a slight like indentation. It's nothing to be like, oh my god, it's my printer's damaged. But I was expecting some damage with the package the way that it looked. So it looks like we do have a power supply on here, power supply input, which makes me think that they are going to try and daisy chain these somehow. I'm not sure what that's for, but it's an I/O port. If you guys know what that is, it's a round piece and it has about eight cables. Now 3, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So it has 8 inputs. So I'm not exactly sure what that's for, but my only guess is that you can daisy chain these power-wise and select them to have mass production of a single piece. Again, I could be wrong. This is just an assumption. Let's check some. Yeah, so that's what I'm guessing, but I have to look into this a little more because again, I haven't really read too much into the extra stuff that they have, but maybe it's something that you can chain in something. I'm not sure. A new dual color. Okay, cool. I'd be down. Yeah, I'll have to look into this and see if we can. I'll have to look at all the packaging and what you call it, the instruction booklet to see what the hell that is. They might not even say what it is. They might just announce it later on down the road. Um, but that's pretty much it for the back. There is a door on here. I'm not sure what that's used for. That might be for something else. Maybe a future. Oh, you know what? They were supposed to send that. So this actually has an auto refill system as well. And they were supposed to send me the auto refill and they didn't. That's what's missing on this. I bet you that's what that's for. I know that. Yep, I bet you. So, any other feature about this that I was excited about? Really, the only thing that I was truly excited about was the speed that it was going to be. And to be in all reality, I was actually thinking about destroying this and putting everything in the Mega and using that. But from what they told me, it's not just the electronics that are the replacement. Actually, the entire system is completely different. So the lead screw is completely different. The motors are different.
everything. So I'd literally have to like transplant everything into it. And I'd still be losing 100 on the Z unless I get a custom setup on that. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. That's what they told me. So I was like, yeah, that's fine. But yeah, we'll take a look at it and see. But really the speed is what I was really stoked about. And to be honest, I was more stoked about the wash station than I was the actual printer, because it's been a while since we have had a wash station for these larger machines coming out. Like I said, right behind you guys, I just, me and my son actually rearranged this a little bit. So I have the eMake 3D and the Apex Maker sitting up on top here, and they are two of my largest machines. The Apex Maker is 353 by 193 by 400, so slightly bigger than the Mega. And then the Galaxy One is 400 by 200 by 400. So there's nothing really there. If I print something that's a full build volume, there's nothing that I can wash it in one go. So I basically had to do a two-part system when I would wash it. I'd wash one half, then the second half, and then I didn't have anything to cure with it. So hopefully with these new wash and cure setups, that'll rectify that issue. But that's really the main thing that I was really interested in. The machine was just kind of a bonus. And it's nice to just review new products because a lot of people are excited about this. Because the original Phrozen Sonic Mega is about $3,000 shipped to your door. You could probably get it a little bit cheaper nowadays, but originally it was like $3,000 to $3,500 to get it shipped to you. So that was quite a big bang. So it kind of sold, but not as well as they wanted it to. So that's why they cut down 100 millimeters off build volume, made it a little bit lighter with the acrylic hood, and just kind of made some minor adjustments. And then at that time, all the new technology was coming up with Shitubox so they can improve the speed and performance of these machines, and they made it much faster. Like I said, even with my speed profile, I think I have my setup here at like 300 millimeters an hour. This can do 600 millimeters an hour on stock settings. That's not even playing like I want to play with the settings. No, that's just what it comes stock out of the box. So that's quite ridiculous. The closest printer this size would be the Anycubic M3 Max, and the fastest that comes out of the box is 240 millimeters an hour. So that's quite ridiculous. I know that may sound strange to some of you FDM people because you're used to 200 millimeters a second or something like that. Well, you got to think this is different. So this space is off of Z height. So that's what they mean is so you print 240 millimeters Z height, tallness in an hour. This can print 600 millimeters in an hour. So that's quite ridiculous. Yeah, so the build plate on this is the exact same as the original Mega. Just like I said, the Z-axis is cut 100 millimeters short to make it easier for shipping and cheaper for production. So build volume is going to be 330 by 185 by 300. I believe it's 300. Let me double check that. I think that's what that was. Specs here. Of course, it's in CM. Oh, I'll definitely tune it in. You better believe that I'm gonna put my speed settings on this. So. And we have a DOA. Or is it power? No. Oh, there we go. There we go. Just I'm used to something beeping when it starts and it doesn't, which I absolutely love because I hate when these things beep. They have the most annoying beep sound ever. Let me make sure there's nothing else in here. I don't think there is. It's a pretty hefty piece of foam here. I just don't want to miss anything like it did on some of these printers. Looks like we're all good. Okay. But yeah. Okay. So another great thing about Phrozen products is they don't skim it, meaning they actually provide a
SD card from SanDisk. Not a cheap knockoff like everybody else does. You know, the typical white one that you see. No. All right. So let's see here. We're going to do information, printer info. Okay, so this is the version we're on. I'm sure there's a new updated version. We're going to turn off the sound just because. Tools, we have resin auto fill pump. So again, that's one of the add-ons for this printer. So you can have auto refill on it. We have the LCD test, Z calibration, Z control, VAT cleaning. Now, I'm not going to do a calibration on this because these are usually really good from the factory when it comes to level. I've only had to re-level my Mega once, and that was it. So we have to put this in the printer. Oh, there we go. So Phrozen test, Phrozen XP. What is that? So should we do the Rook or should we do the exposure test? Should we see if their settings are dialed in for the resin that they gave us? Or should we just do the Rook test? You guys decide. Are they still making the original Mega? As far as I know, but it sounds like they are going to phase that out at some point. Probably sooner rather than later because it's too expensive to consistently produce. I agree. I love my Mega 8K as well. Check their settings. All right, let's go with a exposure test then. So they did send the TR300. Now, if you guys know anything about Phrozen resins, they make quite the range of different resins for whatever you're needing. So this one is actually a high temperature resin, which I thought that they were going to stop making. But apparently they decided to go back on that and say, hey, this is good for speed settings, but it's also good for temperature as well. So this is the highest temp resin that they make. So if you're looking for something that needs a high heat deflection, this will work. So I'm only going to put in a little bit. Oh, that's new. So instead of the silver foil on this, they just put the little cap on it. All right. And of course, just like the Mega, you know, you put a kilogram in and it looks like it's almost not even filled. I put about 600 milliliters in there and it's just barely filling the bottom. All right, so onward for our filling test. Now it does say resin filling, which it doesn't have a sensor on here, so I'm not sure why it's asking about resin filling. So let's see if we can turn that off. Off and off, because we don't have a resin pump attached to this. We'll have to talk to them about it. It's not the end of the world, but okay. So this is the exact same vat as the Mega. So technically, per their specifications, it is 1.75 liters or milliliters, sorry, or kilograms, sorry, 1.75 kilograms of resin. But technically, you could get 2 kilograms in there with no problem. So. Yeah, so at least on the original Mega, there is a fill line on the vat. On this, there is not a fill line. So you do have to be very careful about that. And I can clearly see that this table is leaning towards this way because there's more resin in this side of the vat than there is on the right side. Not the end of the world, but if you ever get these printers, you definitely want to adjust the feet. Actually, I don't know if this has probably got the same as the Mega. Yeah, I don't think these feet are adjustable, so you just have to kind of wedge them and put something underneath the feet to adjust for that. Okay. Adjust for the compensation of it. So, I really don't know. I've never actually looked into the specifications between those two things. I think it's just the fact that this was a thinner resin, and so the way that you post process it is going to be vastly different if you're going to use it for heat deflection purposes. But there might be something about it. I don't know. So, all right. So normally these profiles will usually take me about, I'd say, 40 minutes to print. Says it's taken 30 minutes. So it will leak without that plastic plug. Oh, I know. Plastic plug's in there. Don't worry about it. You're worried about resin printing? So here's one thing, okay? And I said this to somebody the other day. What is the base material of all filament? Exactly. A lot of people don't know that. They don't even think about it because it's more of a byproduct than it is like the actual physical product itself. But it is in there. It is the majority of the mix. That filament is resin. Now, obviously, liquid resin and resin pellets are probably two different things. In fact, they definitely are. But in terms of like health and problems with yourself, this is going to boil it down to the same type of thing where some people have peanut allergies, some people don't. Some people have allergies to flowers, to shellfish. Some people don't. That's really what's going to boil down to like the scarcity of you being worried about resin and the toxicity that carries with it. Now, I will say that there are some resins that are more toxic than others. You have water washable because water washable, in order to gain the ability of water washable, there's more chemicals that are added. So it's not like an exorbitant amount, but it's enough to be a little bit worrisome. Or there's like the flexible materials. Those are usually the ones that are really, really bad for you. So if you are printing with flexible materials, just step out of the room because you're not going to be printing with that in the room. I can guarantee it. Even with my air filtration set to high, it's just laughs at it. It's so micro, like problematic that even air filtration can't deal with it. So yes, really. Hmm. Yeah, that might be more urethane. So again, people, like I said, some people have allergies to it, and that's really where like the stories that you hear about. Oh, well, it's super toxic. So I'm actually going to be taking dangerous good classes this week. So I am going to be certified at the end of this week once I'm done taking my tests and going through the motions to be actual dangerous goods certified. So I will understand more about how to read an SDS sheet and what's going on with it. But I can already tell you just reading most of the SDS sheets that I've read. In fact, I don't even know if this has got one with it. Let's see. Um, but there's different ways that you can read it. That sounds wrong because it sounds like you're reading it one way but not in the other. A lot of people don't understand what some things mean when it comes to SDS sheets. And that's really what's going to tell you how bad the resin actually is. Now, standard resins, ABS resins, those are usually pretty good. If you're really, really worried about resins, you're going to spend a little bit more, just like organic stuff, okay? Organic foods. You spend a little bit more, but it's better for you. Now, that's probably choosing the wrong thing to compare it with, but there's companies like Monicure 3D and 3DRS that have a much better mix of resin and not so much crap added into it. So while it's still toxic, it's far less toxic than any of the Chinese resins that most people utilize and buy from Amazon. But again, it comes with a heftier price tag. So, what's up, bud? How's it going? It is kind of big. I'd say it's more. It's a large printer nowadays, but it'll be a good competition for the Jupiter and a good competition for the M3 Max right now. And I think maybe the Peopoli Forge. I think that's the other one that's in the range of this. I can tell you right now that this is not the speed settings. I can tell you that right now. Just by the way that it's moving, there's no way this is their speed settings. This has got to be stock standard settings that this print is on, because of the way that it's moving. I can clearly see that it is far slower than even my settings on the Mega 8K. So. Yes. Yep. How much are you talking about? Like how much this printer is? This printer is about $1,600, and that's probably not shipping included. So, is it bigger than the Anycubic M3 Max? Yes, it is bigger, slightly bigger. The M3 Max, if I remember off the top of my head, is 298 by 165 by 300. And this one's 330 by 185 by 300. So, um, yes. Not only that, so I've done magnets technically in resin. So I've used, and again, I stress this with extreme caution. Know what you're doing before playing around with mica powders or powders in general. I actually made a print, a Cinderwing dragon actually, and I put iron filing powder inside of the vat. Now, with that, I'd say be very, very careful because it's a very gritty, sandy feeling. And you got to think resin is compression. So if it compresses that and there's not enough room for liquid and it just feels that there's a sandy substance, guess what? You're breaking your screen, you're breaking your vat, you're breaking something on your printer. You will. So the chances of you breaking something is very, very high. So just be very careful with that if you go down that path. But essentially, you can make your print magnetic by infusing a iron filing powder into the resin itself. So, and I guess even you can brush it on, like mix it in a cup and brush it on afterwards and do it that way. But I would say you probably want to do a couple coats if you're going to do it that way. But yeah, you can make it magnetic for sure. I've done it. But going back to the whole worried about resin. So the other big thing that a lot of people are worried about is just a mess. And I'm not going to lie to you. It is a messy, messy thing. I have stuff all over my desk, but I have a specific area that is designated for resin, and it's about 3 feet of space, maybe a little bit less, that I use for my resin setups. Now, granted, I have 18 resin printers here, so that's more than enough. Whereas most people are going to have a smaller printer than this even. So even like a foot or two is going to be more than enough for you. So with that being said, I will say at first, resin is going to be very messy for most people. However, the best thing that I can give for advice wise, find your way to post process. So when you take the print off, how are you going to process it? So I have developed a processing stage to minimize my messiness. So when I print, I will take this build plate off and put it on what's called a drip mount. Now this printer has a drip mount integrated into it, so it's already there. What's up, Jerry?
So that's one of the nicer features. Now, most of the printers that you see on the market, they don't come with that. But a lot of people do design printed parts for it. So you can actually print one and use it for the printer. And that, I let it sit there for probably about 10 minutes, and let it just drip dry. Because most of the time I'm working on one printer, I'm starting the next, and so on and so forth. So I make sure that I'm always trying to do something and have myself occupied with what my next project, essentially, if I'm going to be utilizing that type of processing. But dripping off the resin is the number one thing to create less mess already right off of the bat. Because once you remove that from the build plate, there's probably maybe, I don't know, 2 to 5% resin left on that build plate. Whereas originally, if you just took that build plate off and you started working with it, there's probably 20% of resin in there, especially with this printer, with the build plate being perforated. There's so much resin that gets trapped inside these holes that it's just like, it's a problem for a lot of people. But if you properly take care of it, you won't have that issue. So it's very easy uh, to get a process down and know what you're doing. So that's really the biggest thing out of resin is once you get that processing down, you're good. It's kind of like I keep referencing food, and my apologies if I'm making people hangry about it. But think about deep frying something. Okay, you have a process for deep frying stuff. So I'm going to deep fry shrimp. So shrimp, or you know what? We'll do chicken. So chicken already. You got to be very careful. Cross contamination is very bad for chicken. Like you can easily cross contaminate your entire kitchen with chicken salmonella and have a real bad day. So you got to be very careful. So you already know handling chicken. You got to be very careful. Same thing with resin. You got to be very careful with handling it. But going back to the whole deep frying process, so you take your chicken out of the bowl, you pour your resin out into the vat, and then once the chicken is inside the bowl, you're going to put it into the resin vat, and well, you're going to put it into the egg wash, and that's where your print is printing. Okay, then what you're going to do is you're going to put it into the breadcrumbs. Okay, and that breadcrumbs is essentially your print that is finished. Okay, but what you do is you also make sure you go back and double dip it type thing. So I'm not saying that's really needed for anything, but just processing the whole analogy thing. But by the time it goes into the deep fryer and everything, it's kind of like more of a solid object. And some people even refrigerate or freeze that after it goes into the egg wash and the breadcrumbs. But essentially, that's the same type of thing I'm trying to get across, and it's being terrible about it. But essentially, you got to have your process, your stages of what you're doing. Essentially, is what I'm getting at. So, Chef Matt, yeah, exactly. No, it's got it integrated already on it. So they have a metal hook in the middle. That's a nice little metal hook right there. So it's already ready to rock and roll. If not, I do have my original hook, but I like this because I don't have to take it on or off. It's always on. So I dig that already. That's something I've been wanting to do with the Mega for the longest time because right now mine is just a slide off piece, and then I put it over in the corner, print with it, then take it from the corner and put it back on, remove the build plate, and do the whole process. I don't like taking off drip mounts if I don't have to. I will go out of my way to have something over engineered to get it right to where I don't have to less steps essentially. So kind of like what I was just talking about, process flow. Your wife is loving upstairs hearing. What is that?
My wife is laughing upstairs hearing you compare chicken frying to resin printing. Is she? I need some fried chicken now, right? Everybody needs a little bit of fried chicken. What's up, Sniper? All right, well, this is printing. This is taking forever. You have a trash can designated to resin. See, exactly. Yes, and you need all 3 unit corrects, so about 2K total. You don't necessarily need all 3 units, but it does make your processing a lot easier, obviously. Now, I've had the Mega, which is slightly larger than this, and I've done okay with the Wash and Cure Plus. Now, I'm not saying it's the greatest thing, but it works. I found a way to make it work with my workflow, and that's basically where I have it. So I utilize it as best as I can, and again, it just works. So, but this definitely makes it a lot easier for sure. But is it needed? I'll leave that up to you. I personally like the Wash and Cure in one, which I know this is a Frozen stream, but I did get the Wash and Cure Max from Anycubic to test out. So we'll see it stack up against this, and one or the other is going to stay. So I'd really like the Frozen to stay because I obviously Frozen is technically our channel sponsor out of anything. So I mean, I have all of their printers right now. I've had all their printers since the Mini 4K. So I've had the Mini 4K, I've had the Mighty 4K, I've had the Mega 8K, then the Mini 8K, the Mighty 8K, the Mini 8KS, and now the Mega 8KS. So I actually have the entire 8K family with me right now. So we'll let this test print run, and I think we're going to call it quits at the end of that. I think that'll be good. Looks like it's about halfway there. It's got 13 minutes. So tell Frozen to send me some printers for review. I could print 4 mini Dreamcasts at once on that thing. Really? So the build volume on this is 330 by 185 by 300. So it's a good possibility that you can print 3 of them. And this will print it pretty beautifully, especially if you use their resin. Their resin just prints oh so smooth. I've absolutely fallen in love with their ABS like over anybody else's. It seems to print very, very nice. I don't know how to explain it any better. It's kind of like the same people who print with FDM printers and are like, yeah, I like printing with Sunlu, eSun, Hatchbox, whatever. But when I get Protopasta, it prints. It prints beautifully. Like, you can't explain why it prints so well. It just does. Like, you just know if you set a print off on it, it's going to look beautiful. It's going to print beautiful. So, but if you are interested in getting a printer from them, do what I did. Literally just reach out. Now, granted, this was a couple years ago when I reached out. Funny enough, I was very anti-Frozen when I first started working with them because my first introduction with Frozen, so many people had told me about this amazingly fast printer, game changer, like printing at half the speed of what we normally were. And I'm like, how is this possible? That was the Phrozen Sonic Mini, which started all of the monochrome screen printers that you know of today. So without Frozen, we would still be in the RGB screens days today. So we kind of owe it to Frozen to be the technological leader in the industry for everything so far. And I'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, they had the Mini 8 or the Frozen Sonic Mini. Now the downfall was it's a very small printer, but it was fast.
So like I was used to printing at like 8 to 9 seconds a layer. This thing was printing at like 3 to 4 seconds a layer. So I mean, printing in half the time, that's mind blowing. I couldn't figure out how they were doing it. And then I found out that instead of going through an RGB screen and then having to go through all the colors to emit a light, it went through just black and white. So it made it much faster to go through that because it was only going through 2 colors. But I got the printer. I bought it with my own money, and everybody was boasting about it. And I was like, all right, let's test this out and see what all the rave is about. And I printed the test print. I ended the live stream, and it died 10 minutes after the live stream. And I couldn't get it to work again. So like the main board fried on it. And I'm like, this is a brand new printer. I just unboxed it, got it from Amazon, and it died. So I was not too happy about that I spent $350 or whatever it was. I think it was more than that, but it was a nice chunk of change at that time, 2-3 years ago, to buy a printer like that. So I don't know offhand, but I'll be honest, it's very easy to tell who makes what filaments and who makes what resins by telling what type of spool they use or what type of bottle of resin they use. So, but I could look that up if you really want to know. But most of the time, 99% of the time, the Chinese filaments are made by 2 manufacturers, Sunlu or Esun, either one of them. So, what way should I hit them up? Email. That's what I did. And that's what started all this. And apparently they liked my review, which I'll be honest, was shocking to me because I think my content is subpar at best compared to most of the people out there. But that just might be me critiquing my own stuff normally. But anyway, they seem to like it and they keep working with me, so I'm happy. I like it, and they're probably the most consistent company that I work with. They always give me updates on everything that's going on and make sure that everything's taken care of. So. All right, let's see. Very cool info. I need to get back to making my video on the new Libra computer. All right, bud, have a good one. Man, it's been so long since I've been in the SBC world. So. Sunlu. And again, it'll be an ABS like Sunlu resin. They're probably the cheapest, and they work fairly well. So. So what, we're almost about an hour and a half into our stream here. So pretty much by the time this finishes, we'll take a look at it. We'll let it drip off a little bit. We'll take a look at it. And then, yeah, we'll pretty much end the stream. It'll be just a little over an hour and a half of streaming. So that's a good stream. A lot better than our 2 tree stream. If you guys haven't seen the live stream of that one, and you want some laughter in that, yeah, definitely go and check that one out. That's quite an interesting stream, let me tell you. That was an FDM printer, by the way. And it's not that me and FDM don't mix. It's just that printer and me don't mix. And apparently everybody else it doesn't mix with either. What's up, Heavy 3D? Dark Golem, how's it going? We're checking out the Phrozen Sonic Mega 8KS. Yo. Oh, about 2 trees? Is that what you're referring to? I'm sorry, I've been drinking coffee. Yeah, so 2 trees had sent me their, I guess, newest printer that they have, the S Sapphire Pro 5, otherwise known as the SP5, version 3. Well, when you call it version 3, right there should already throw up a bunch of red flags. But I would think by version 3, they would have their shit together. But apparently not. So they sent me the product. They were in the chat and everything was going okay. You know, I was dropping the ball on some things, doing the putting it together and whatnot, but we got it all ironed out and everything. Go to start printing with it, and the Z starts locking up. The Z binds. And I'm like, everything's put together the way that it's supposed to, which the way that they have it put together is the most jankiest way in the face of the earth. And, you know, talking about that, Bendu, you should probably look into the new V slot corners where they actually slide into the V slot rails for extra rigidity instead of those crappy ones that they have on there right now. But that's up to you if you want to spend some money on it. I don't really care. But yeah, that's one of the things that was just kind of weird is the way that they had it set up like that. They used T-nuts with these corner braces to lock up everything, and it's not structurally sound. Like, there's a lot of things they did right, but that at that point they did that wrong, and they should have never done it that way. But either way, so I was struggling to try and get it to print, to even get up to level it to print with it. And we were like 3 hours into the live stream, longest live stream I've ever done. And it was just like one issue after another. So I ended the live stream, and of course, just in typical fashion, I think it's just my brain got so frustrated of me looking like a complete ass to myself on the live stream with this thing not working, that I got it working at least in some way to get it to level at least. And then it started printing, and it was like pooping out a little bit here and here and here. And I couldn't tell if like it was an extruder jam or if it was a bed leveling issue. I think it was kind of both, but I just didn't have time to deal with it. Like, it's a brand new printer; it should work at least for a good 3 months before it starts having an issue. And I was just kind of done with it. So they had me do a software update or a firmware update because there were some issues with the leveling that you couldn't level. It would only level like the front 3. So like there was 5 points of contact. It would be left, right, back, left, and middle. But when you would press the back left, it would go to the front middle. So it was all kinds of messed up. So, but it's we got it all rectified with the firmware, but it still just wasn't printing right. So I was done with it at that point. And Two Trees was very active in the chat talking about this and that. And they were really more talking about their new printer out of anything, but they were also trying to get people to buy the current printer that I was working on. And yeah, they just ended up leaving like while I was starting to have issues. So kudos to that. All right, so we're at about 88%. We got a minute left. Or is that? Yeah, that's 88%. What's up, Orange Joe? How's it going? I don't know why I highlighted that comment, but all right. Right? I've never wanted to throw a printer so fast out a window in my entire life. And I've dealt with a print farm of Ender 3s. So that right there tells you a lot. Yep. Deadly, why did you throw that printer down the stairs? It wasn't working right. Oh, now I get it. All right, so we're at 93%. We're at layer 55 of 59. We'll see how well these are dialed in. But the funny thing is now that I know that this is on stock, like slow settings, it's going to be pointless to have this calibration print done, because when I start utilizing the speed settings, I need to calibrate for the speed settings and the cure times for it. So this is just more or less going to be for shits and giggles type thing. But it seems to be printing. I do see the pooling effect on the build plate signifies that something's on the build plate. So let's hope that it's still on there. So in terms of like the how this printer looks, they did redesign the entire front end of this. It is much, much smaller than the original Mega. The original Mega probably goes up to this line about when it for the base and everything. So it is much, much taller on the Mega. I think it actually has a larger screen, if I'm not mistaken. This one has a little bit smaller of a screen. Not the end of the world, but I mean, nowadays 5-inch screens are usually standard on printers, 7-inch, even more so. But I do like that they have this nice little cutout here, so you can just basically grab the top of the lid here and pull it up. Oh, that was perfect timing. And our print is finished. And we do have a calibration print on here. So we'll let it drip off for a little bit. Okay, printing completed. Printing time is 31 minutes. Okay, so it was a little bit more than what it originally had called for. But basically, what's nice about this thing is you don't really need gloves if you're careful enough. You can pick this up and put it out right over here. And there is your drip up. There you go. So as you can see, there's a lot of resin that's dripping off there. So that's one of the main things that a lot of people don't understand with workflow, is doing that will save you a lot of your mess with resin. Because that's the one thing that I always hear people gripe about with resin is, oh, it's super messy. It is. If you don't think about the workflow, it is messy. But if you have the right workflow, you can make it a lot easier on yourself. Now, again, you're not going to get everything off of there. I mean, you can probably take this off and flip it on the other side and drip it off on the other. But I mean, for the most part, when this is all said and done dripping, like I said, there's probably only going to be about 5% left of the resin on there than it originally was. So, whereas if I took it off right now and I just started working with it, man, there'd be resin everywhere. It'd be a huge pool of resin. And I can kind of see that this looks like it came out very well. I can't tell if those are bubbles or if that's resin pieces. I think that's bubbles. It's very strange. Now, what they should have actually done is made it angled a little bit. Because if you angle it to one corner to drip off, that makes it even better. But still, a drip is better than no drip. Respect the drip, Karen. Let's see here. Using a heat gun on low will help the extra resin flow and drip off. Yep. But you could also change the polymers on some resins if you do that. So you got to be very careful. because a lot of resins aren't rated for heat deflection temperatures of that temperature. So it'd probably be better to utilize like a small fan setup, because if you do or do not know, a lot of people use heat guns to remove supports, and that's because it softens it up even more, because it changes the polymerization of it. Whereas some resins, they're okay with that. Like it's actually better to use that, so they'll actually strengthen up. But most of the cheap resins that are on the market that you buy from Amazon are going to be not so much liking the resin being heated up to a certain extent. So you just got to be careful with that. Can you use a heat gun? Yeah, you just be careful with the heat. So, because the same thing, like, take for example, when I first got my heater in the Mega, actually, no, it wasn't the Mega. What was it? It was the E-Make. So the E-Make had an integrated heater in it, and they had it set to like 28 degrees Celsius, which is like 98 degrees or something ridiculous like that. It was way to hell up there. And what was happening is it was cooking the resin. So it would print for a little bit, and then once it started getting like cooked up, it would just start failing horribly. Joel Telling had an issue with it. Uncle Jesse had an issue with it. And I actually was like, I went in there and I'm like, wow, that's really hot for the resin that they gave you. Like 28 degrees Celsius, way to hell up there. I think it was 28. I'm pretty sure. But I'm like, wow, that's really insane. And a lot of people were showing me prints, and I'm like, this looks like a heating failure because it literally was like a step line. So I'm like, only two issues would pose that problem. One would be just the Z has a banding issue, which I've never heard of on a resin printer because it doesn't move fast in any way, shape, or form. So if there was a Z banding issue, you would see it, you would know, you would hear it, like something that majorly off. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get my unit within the next week, and I'll take a look at it. And so I unboxed it, and right away I was like, yeah, this is probably why everybody's having failures, is that it was set at 28 degrees Celsius, and so it was cooking it. Like resin, most of the time works very well between 60 and 70. So anything above that is very hard for, I should say, MSLA resins. It's very hard for them to maintain the polymerization within that temperature range. So you got to bring it down. I usually, maybe it's not 28 degrees. I don't know. It was way up there. That doesn't sound right because now that I'm thinking about it, I have the Mega set at 27 right now, and that's very low. So maybe it was something absorbent. I don't know. It was way to hell up there. That's all I know. I was like, this is way too hot. And so I brought it down and instantly fixed everybody's issue. So yes, you can use a heat gun. Just be careful of the heat because you can ruin the resin, especially with some of those really cheap resins. But there are some resins that are okay with that. Like I said, like if I was using like an SLA printer, that's a different story. Most of those resins are okay with heat because they're used for lasering. Lasers are insanely hot, so they're okay. Nope. See, that's how they should have this, is kind of tipped a little bit. Let's see. So yes and no. So there are MSLA and then there's SLA. Laser printers are they have a different type of bonding process than MSLA, whereas MSLA is layer by layer by layer, and it's used by a much weaker system. So for example, if I printed a print and it's whatever it is, it's some part, okay. Um, if I printed it in an MSLA, an SLA, a DLP, they would actually have all different types of properties, even if I use the same resin. The reason being is SLA would have the better of the properties, would actually cure more solid than it would all of the other MSLA or DLP because of the way that lasers bond, it heats and cures at the same time. Whereas MSLA, yes, it does kind of heat up with the UV light, but it is nowhere near what a laser can produce in terms of heat. So the bonding process is slightly less. And then DLP is pretty much on par with MSLA with that because it's still a projection. But again, it's probably the lowest of them. But I mean, each and every one has their own place. So you have SLA that is used for structural rigidity, production parts, and things like that. It is the resins that are typically used in SLA are far superior than any other resin on the market. And then you have MSLA, which is right in the middle. That's your consumer grade for the most part. A lot of people use dental stuff because it's cheap to do that with, even though technically SLA is a better product to use. MSLA is far cheaper. So a lot of people are getting more into MSLA for dental applications than in the industrial. And then obviously the consumer grade market is pretty much the majority is MSLA. And then there's DLP, which is like the redheaded stepchild that nobody really talks too much about. So one of the things that DLP has is it acts just like MSLA, but it has a much higher quality of a print. So, but the downfall is your build volume is shortened. So for DLP, stacking is a thing. So when you do resin stacking, you're shortening the Z height, you're shortening the X and Y, but you're lengthening the Z height for your printing, and you get the best results of it. The more you fill the build plate on the DLP, the more you lose your resolution because it acts kind of like a focus on a camera, okay? So if you have a 30 millimeter lens and you need something that is, and you're trying to get a shot that requires 50 millimeters, or vice versa, you know, you have a 50 millimeter shot and you're using a 30 millimeter lens, you're only getting that little bit. You're not getting the whole thing. And so that's kind of like how DLP works because it's a focal range. So the wider out the focal range, the worse your resolution is on the print. Now it's going to be very minute, but there are going to be, for people who are doing it with jewelry, that's more or less what DLP is made to be used for is DLP. You can use it for MSLA and SLA because it's going to be cheaper and quicker. Well, it'll be cheaper on quicker on MSLA, but you get to, it'll be easier to print on SLA. So yeah, each and every one has their own little things. So yes, cures at a higher wavelength. Yes. Yes and no. So most resin printers are masking stereolithography. There are SLA printers, and then there's things like Formlabs, which is SLC, I think is what they call it. They're kind of the oddball out. So there's actually like draws on and everything, kind of just like an SLA, but the difference is the SLC is they have a wipe system on it. So it's their patented laser setup. So it's a much faster laser and everything like that. But again, it's still slow. Anyway, So this is pretty much it. I'm going to try and drip this off as best as I possibly can to show you guys the results of this, and then we're going to let you guys go. I will say that that hook is nice, but it's kind of a pain in the ass too. So here's the print. You guys probably not going to be able to see it too well, but it looks pretty good so far. I can just tell just by looking at it that it's a pretty good print. And again, you guys probably can't see it, but it did print it, and it looks very good. So we'll probably put a test print on it. I have some Sanix models that I was looking into. I think I'm going to choose one of those tonight, and we're going to throw it on the build plate and get it printing and get it all situated. But that's pretty much it, guys. I'm sure you'll see some more content with the Phrozen Mega Series items going on here. We will have to get quite a bit of denatured alcohol to get this with, but who knows? Maybe we might dilute that with some water to save us some money. I don't know. I usually use straight denatured alcohol because it just washes great. But we'll have to see budget-wise if that's a possibility or not. But anyway, I'm going to let you guys go, and I'll probably be on a little bit later on live if I can. But we're not going to be up too late because I'm going to be up early tomorrow morning. So, but I thank you guys all for watching the stream, and until next time, happy printing. Thank you.